Hello and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to have a little update to the Winnu. Now that Twilight Imperium 4th edition has the Prophecy of Kings expansion to give them a bit of a boost. So without further ado, let's take a look at their mechs and leaders. Alright, so they have 3 leaders and a mech. They have the agent Berakon. They have the commander Rakani, and they have the leader, the hero, Matinus. So I'm noticing a trend with their names. They like very similar sounding first names and surnames. And they have the mech called Reclaimer, which immediately makes me think of video game Halo. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of the other things that we may remember about the Winnu from before. Their 2 racial technologies, Lazak's gatefolding and hegemonic trade policy there. Just keep them handy for reference as well. Alright, taking a look here at Berakon, the agent, which reads, when one or more of a player's units use production, you may exhaust this card to reduce the combined cost of the produced units by 2. That's really interesting. That's a good one. It's an exhaust, so it's a once per round. You would exhaust it after doing it, but you can do it for yourself, or you could do it with somebody else. You can allow somebody else to reduce their cost by 2. Perhaps that might be a play if you are trying to keep somebody in the game who is an ally, if you're in an alliance with somebody. Maybe giving somebody an incentive to help you by, giving them a discount towards something like a Warzone or a flagship maybe. You're most likely going to do it for yourself each time, but the option is there to do it with somebody else. Given the Winnu much needed economy from what they had before. Okay, so let's take a look at the commander here, Rakani. To unlock this, you need to control Mechatol Rex or enter into a combat in the Mechatol Rex system. And as you may know, if you've played Winnu before, they're big on Mechatol Rex. They kind of need it in order to succeed. A lot of their special abilities are focused on Mechatol Rex. When you have your Lazak's gatefolding, you have very easy access to Mechatol Rex from any wormhole. And now with the Prophecy of Kings, adding extra wormhole tiles and the wormhole nexus, it's even more access to the planet, so it should be quite easy for you to get into the system and unlock your commander. And when you do, you get the ability which is during combat, apply +2 to the result of each of your units' combat rolls in the Mechatol Rex system, your home system, and each system that contains a legendary planet. So finally some kind of additional boost and benefit and reason to try to defend Mechatol Rex other than just points and points and points. These guys love Mechatol Rex, and now they can actually defend it well. They can hunker down, they can actually try to keep control of it, which is critical for their success. It's why they haven't had a lot of success in the past in base game Twilight Imperium 4, because Mechatol Rex is such a big part of the game for scoring and Imperial and all that, and to assume that they'd be able to control it for the whole game was crazy. It never really worked for them, and now they have a really good boost towards achieving that goal, a much needed one. So it's really great to see a bit of a leveling playing field for them there with that commander. And something else to note as well is that this is an always on ability. It's not exhausted, it's there the whole time. So super impressed with this commander. I think it's much needed for the Winnu. The hero Matinus unlock have 3 scored objectives, same as every other hero I've seen so far. You flip it over and it becomes the Imperial Seal, which is an action. So you can do this instead of a tactical action or a strategy action. And it reads, Sins of the Father, action. Perform the primary ability of any strategy card. Then choose any number of other players. Those players may perform the secondary ability of that strategy card. Then purge this card. So this is huge for these guys. Being able to choose Imperial to score a point, for example, at any time, huge. Being able to do technology when you need it to get some extra stuff, again, contributing towards potential objectives and victory points, massive. Warfare, diplomacy, any of the strategy cards in the game, you can just go, yep, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to purchase this card. And you can say nobody does any of the strategy cards. You can say everybody does. You can pick and choose. But you have a lot of flexibility there to make friends and enemies at the table. And finally, it feels like the Winnu actually have some actual like strengths. It's great to see that. So, Imperial Seal, the hero, really cool. Their mech Reclaimer, it's the usual cost 2, combat 6 with sustained damage, and it has the text here that says, after you resolve a tactical action during which you gain control of this planet, you may place 1 PDS or 1 space dock from your reinforcements on this planet. Alright, so Reclaimer is basically it's an invasion mech in that way. You're going to send your mech down onto the planet, and if you win the combat, at the end of the combat, at the end of that, when it's resolved, you can put down a PDS or a space dock. So access to PDS outside of the construction strategy card, and also some extra space dock if you want it. That's fantastic. Bear in mind that when you take control of Mechatol Rex, the Reclamation ability here, which has a very similar name to Reclaimer, as you can see there, Reclaimer the mech and Reclamation the ability. It's very similar. When you take Mechatol Rex, it allows you to put PDS and a space dock down on Mechatol Rex. So Reclaimer is basically allowing you to do that on any planet that you take. Of course, you're restricted to the number of PDS and the 3 space docks you have in your supply, but you can do that there. There's no reason why you can't use this with Reclaimer that I can see. I believe you can put down a second PDS on Mechatol Rex when you use the Reclamation ability. So I would highly recommend that you do that. Turn Mechatol Rex into a fortress as early as you can, and hopefully you've got your commander unlocked, making holding Mechatol Rex actually viable for the Winnu now, which is something I never thought I'd say. They definitely have potential here to be able to pull off the strategy. It's certainly a lot more possible than it was before, which is pretty interesting. So that's the mechs and leaders. There's a few other things about the Winnu that I wanted to highlight for you in this video. The first of which is not actually in the Prophecy of Kings expansion box. It's part of the Codex, which is a print and play expansion that has been released on Fantasy Flight Games website for the game. The main thing that was in that wasn't in the base game before was a new Promissory Note. So I've had these printed myself. I've gotten someone to print these for me. The original one was Acquiescence, and in my player's guide video for the Winnu, I basically told you never to give this to anybody. I think that was a general consensus among the community and the design team, because they've changed the Promissory Note. No longer are you giving people the power to take away your strategy card. You now have this one here, Acquiescence, with a mega symbol, which is the symbol to show that it's from the Codex. And I highly recommend that you take this Codex from the website and download it and print it out if you can for play in Prophecy of Kings, because again, this is another thing about the Winnu that actually makes it viable, unlike the one in the base game, which I'm never going to use again because of this one. And it just levels the playing field that bit more, and it makes you actually think about using this. And what this new Promissory Note reads is, when the Winnu player resolves a strategic action. So again, this is a different player using this action because you've given them this card. It reads, you do not have to spend or place a command token to resolve the secondary ability of that strategy card, then return this card to the Winnu player. So instead of the previous one where the Winnu player has no control over their strategy card, it can just be taken off them, this is now like a benefit for other players when the Winnu player takes a specific strategy card. So making it something that you actually may trade out to people and start doing deals with, which I think the Winnu really need in the game, which was sorely missed in the base game. So that's their Codex update to their Promissory Note Acquiescence Omega. Okay, and give this a go. I'm sure you can find online places that already have this ready set up for printing. That's how I found it. So take a look at that. Okay. Something else to note as well about the Winnu is that their starting technology has suddenly gotten a lot more complicated. Now, there is one other thing that I would like you to think about when looking at this new stuff for the Winnu, which is their starting technology, which reads, choose any one technology that has no prerequisites. So you may remember from the Player's Guide video that I talked you through the 4 base game technologies that would apply in this case: plasma scoring, Sarween tools, neural motivator, and anti-mass deflectors. But with Prophecy of Kings, there's actually 4 more technologies that have no prerequisites, and they are AI development algorithm, scanlink drone network, psychoarchaeology, and dark energy tap. So you've now got 8 choices instead of 4. So naturally this is a bit of a more complicated decision for you to make. When we talked about this before, I kind of told you not to go for plasma scoring. With your reduction in costs that's come with a lot of the stuff that I've shown you previously in this video, you might want to think about heavy hitting technology upgrades like war zones. So maybe don't discount this entirely. Another path to war zones is AI development algorithm. That also counts as a reduction for producing. So it's gotten a little bit more complicated in that regard. You've also got your Scanlink drone network to think about here, which means that when you explore, you can do it again after you've already explored the system before and the planet before. So, you know, something to think about. Dark energy tap as well in particular might be interesting if you feel like going exploring quickly. If you're playing with someone who's playing the Imperium, for example, and they're thinking about doing a lot of frontier expansion and exploring, you can get in on that game as well. The only thing to think about there though as well is you do only have the 1 carrier and a couple of infantry at the start. So while dark energy tap might be something you're thinking about getting, it's not necessarily the one you want at the very start of the game. So my advice is to really think about this. You've got a lot of options, depends how you want to play it. I still kind of think Sarween tools is the best option to go for, but there you have 8 choices to choose from now instead of 4. So definitely a lot more going on with the Winnu with the Prophecy of Kings editions. They've gotten an upgrade. They definitely feel viable now. I'm not sure if they've taken the massive step forward that a lot of us who've played the game before a few times feel they needed. However, saying that, big fan of their commander in particular, this +2 when you're defending Mechs Rex, or if you're attacking Mechs Rex, I suppose. And also legendary planets, something to think about. I think that's really, really good. And just having a reduction on production is good as well. So they feel a bit more flexible, but they are still very much the Mechs Rex conquering planet strategy, and you'll just have to stick with that if you're being the Winnu. There's no massive sea change of what you're going to be able to do with them. They do definitely need to control the capital system. So they're very true to their roots, at least, which is good. So that's the Winnu's update from Prophecy of Kings and a little bit from the Codex. So highly recommend you get that as well. Yeah, so there you go. The Winnu, probably not the worst race in the game anymore. Maybe, we'll see. This is early yet, but let me know what you think. If you've played as the Winnu with the updated abilities and cards and stuff, I'd love to hear what you've found, or if you played against them likewise. So let me know in the comments. So this has been Rulebreaker. Thanks for watching. We'll have plenty more of these videos, one for each race, coming very soon. So I'll see you then. Thanks very much.